This is a Spanish movie by Pablo Larraín, who's previously made, among other things, that Jackie Kennedy biopic a few years back. But he's also made a movie called Neruda with the same writer and one of the same actors as this one. And I'd never heard of it before, but it looks pretty good, so I might have to check that out. But anyway, back to this one, where we follow the story of a couple. A couple who are dancers, or, well, the woman is a dancer technically, and the man is the leader of the dance troupe. And this has to be at least like the fourth movie involving interpretive dancing I've seen in the last year or so. And I'm not sure what to make of that trend, but it seems to be a very popular subject at the moment. However, in this one, the dancing is not really the focus. I mean, there is a fair amount of it in it, but as far as the story goes, it doesn't really seem to have much of an impact. Instead, the focus of the story here is on this couple and their private life, because they're currently living in the aftermath of a very complicated, well, I don't know how to describe it exactly, a complicated adoption issue, I guess. Some rather terrible things apparently transpired and they're now left to deal with the consequences. And the way they, especially the woman, goes about dealing with it is rather interesting. And I will say this much, the movie knows how to keep you wondering where it's going next. I mean, even the very opening scene is there just to stir your imagination and to raise a lot of questions. Some of which get answered along the way, and some that pretty much don't get any answers at all. And I will say that beneath the surface, there is something interesting about this. And the story at its core does have something compelling and intriguing about it. It's also a very good looking and well shot movie with some top-notch performances. However, it is definitely on the more artsy side of the scale, and at the end of the day, I couldn't help but to feel like it was suffering a little bit of style over substance syndrome. But it's not all style, and there is something more to it beneath the surface. But I do feel there's also a lot of unnecessary fluff in there too, basically filler. Things that don't necessarily serve a clear purpose and that I didn't really get much out of. Everything is also presented in a very strange way where I felt distanced and disconnected from the characters. And even though this movie follows this woman very closely, I didn't feel like I knew her or what was going on inside her head. And probably because of that I didn't feel like the movie made a whole lot of sense. Logically speaking, I don't feel like the character motivations and their actions made a lot of sense. This whole thing just didn't feel believable to me, and I feel like the only way for me to buy into that would have been to accept that this main character is just mentally unstable and completely irrational. And maybe I should have, and maybe that was the point, I have no idea. But a series of irrational actions doesn't make for a great story, to me at least. And in the end it just left me feeling underwhelmed and a little bit confused about what the point was. But I will say that at least it came up with an original story, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad movie. It has a lot of redeeming qualities, like the originality, the visuals, the performances, the score and the soundtrack. But at the end of the day I didn't really like it all that much, it just didn't resonate with me. However, does that mean I wouldn't recommend it? If you're into slightly more artsy movies, maybe give it a peek. But if you don't like that sort of thing, it's probably pretty safe to skip this one. Or you can do whatever you want, because after all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.